Hi and welcome back to Down the Shed. 602 subscribers. So I've not done this board since 200 because it had 200 on it. So I've modified the 2 to a 6 and we have our 600 sub board up. We need 400 more. My yellow Sherlock. My plan was to have 600 subs, but 1,000 subs within 5 years. It wasn't a huge goal, it was achievable. Apart from the last 2 years, I've had a police matter going on, and that's basically created most of my content to be either shite or just not at all. So we're getting the shed back on track. I've made 24 or 28 subscribers in the last 24, I think, in the last 28 days. That's brilliant. Let's keep on track like that, and we're going to hit the 1,000 in no time. So, what's been going on? So on the 18th of January 2023, some forestry people were extremely rude and arrogant to my partner. They threatened to cause criminal damage to our vehicles, and I might have got a little bit upset. I do consider the fact that there was extreme provocation, but I may have allegedly have left my house and it wouldn't have had the bipod on it, and it wouldn't have been this rifle, but the rifle would have had the barrel broken and it was over my shoulder. It was no threat to anybody. However, the forestry people played their race card. They called the old bill. At 10:30 roughly on the 18th of January 2023, I have to emphasise that date, 2023, I got arrested by armed police and taken to Melksham Police Station. I was charged with causing fear with a firearm. Actually, I wasn't even charged. I was released on bail pending investigation. It's taken Wiltshire Police from the 18th of January 2023 to the 4th of April 2025 to get the CPS to accept a case and put me in court. I turned up on the 4th of April and I get sent home. There are no magistrates. I'm like, do what? I've got a fucking summons to be here. I get a court warrant for my arrest if I don't turn up. Oh, you'll get a letter or an email. On the 5th of April, I get a letter that was sent on the 3rd of April telling me not to turn up in court on the 4th of April. How retarded. So, I get a new court date of the 17th. I turn up. I get indicted to Crown Court. Oh, happy days. So, basically, legal aid forms can't be submitted because apart from the Co-op and Harrods and fucking Marks and Spencer's all getting hacked, the legal aid system had been hacked. So they shut down all online applications. So we had another 2 or 3 adjournments while this gets sorted out. Eventually they go back to the old school system of emailing stuff, forms and the like. So we had to go through all the forms again. Turns out that was successful. So I don't appear to have a legal bill. Woohoo! Anyway, you've got guy number 1 accusing me of being stood in my garden, aiming my weapon at him with no scope on it. And in the police evidence, that weapon has clearly got a scope on it. And I will put a picture in of the police evidence, but I need to get it out of my car, so I'll add that in a while. But you will see it here now. Okay, so here we have a picture of my air rifle. As you can see, the barrel is broken and there is a scope on it. What you can't see in that picture, which if you look through a magnifying glass closely, is it appears to be like a shotgun. There's 2 triggers on it. That means, like this weapon here, that one in the picture is like that. The safety catch is off. Which isn't good handling, weapon handling for the police. So you can see that the weapon clearly has a red dot scope on it. In fact, you can't really see it there, but if you magnify in on this picture, you'll see that the safety catch is off. They have broken the barrel, but the safety catch is unsafe, which is not good for police handling of a weapon if they're supposed to be in control and whatever. Person B, who can't see me clearly, he's in the car park across the road, across the street. He says I'm in the road with the rifle at the hip with my finger on the trigger. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not Johnny Rambo. You can hold the rifle at your hip one-handed, but it's not easy. But there's obviously discrepancies within their statements. They're both saying, they're both accusing me of threatening to shoot them. But their statements aren't even close. I mean, one guy says I'm aiming it, the other guy says I've got it at the hip. One guy says I'm in my garden, one guy says I'm in the street. These people have had time to get their stories straight. The first person wasn't interviewed, I'm not going to name names, but person A wasn't interviewed for 4 months. Witness B wasn't interviewed for 9 months. So was there evidence what they remember or what they think they remember? It's not acceptable to leave it that long. One police officer had tried getting this stuff past the CPS, and after 5 months, apparently the CPS sent it all back, saying it needs to be investigated, there needs to be evidence, and somebody needs to do their bloody job properly. They were absolutely pissed, according to the officer that rang me. I've had an official apology that the police were not, capital letters, not up to standard. Right, so you'll see the lights not flashing, so this is an edited part of the video. So my decision about your complaint. So, 18th of the 1st, 23, incident reported you were arrested. You were released on bail so that further inquiries could be completed. 11th of the 4th, 23, your bail was lifted, you were released under investigation. Between 18/1/23 and 11/4/23, PC Stephen Shaw was having trouble obtaining a statement from a key witness who lived out of the area. Once it was obtained, we were informed about being RUI'd. It doesn't state that the second witness's statement was taken 9 months after the effect. I mean, that one was 3-4 months. 24th of the 6th, 23, the case was evidence reviewed by Police Sergeant Osmond, who advised that because of the type of offence that only the Crown Prosecution Service could make the charging decision, PC Stephen Shaw was therefore advised to send all relevant information to the CPS for them to review the case. This is June. I was arrested in January 23. This is June 23. July 19th. Following review of the file for CPS by the 3rd of the 7th, 23, the file was sent to the Criminal Justice Unit within Wiltshire Police by PC Shaw for them to firstly review and ensure it reached the correct standard before being sent to the CPS. 19th of the 7th, 23, following review of the file for CPS by the CJU, it was sent back to PC Stephen Shaw for more work to be done as it did not meet the required standard. This is 6 months in and the police officer can't get his case to the required standard. Between 19th of the 7th, 23 and 29th of the 12th, 23, various tasks related to the file being sent to the CPS were initiated for action by PC Stephen Shaw, P Sergeant Osmond and Detective Sergeant Bliss. Now we go back to the 1st of the 7th, 24, the file was finally sent to CPS for their advice. So the file was sent to the CPS for their advice on the 1st of the 7th, 24, and yet on the 19th of the 7th, 23 and 29th of the 12th, 23, various tasks related to the file being sent to the CPS were initiated for action. It's taken them a year to get that file to the CPS from that date. 8th of the 3rd, 24, so we've gone back 4 months. Pre-charge advice was received back from the CPS who requested for more evidence inquiries to be undertaken, one of which was examination of the weapon seized. 15th of the 3rd, 24, the weapon was sent out of force for forensic examination. This could take some time. It is my assessment that the timeline provided and the information I have reviewed that there was an unacceptable delay in requests by the CJU for more work to be completed by PC Shaw. Given some of these requests were also sent to and from his 2 supervisors, Police Sergeant Osmond and Detective Sergeant Bliss, they must also take some responsibility for these delays, as they were required to ensure that PC Stephen Shaw completed what was asked of him. From the point that Police Sergeant Osmond asked for the case to be sent to the CPS, and when it got there was just over 5 months. I have spoken to a member of the Crown Criminal Justice Unit, and they have confirmed that this is an unacceptable amount of time to complete this work. However, that's what it says, it should be it is, the responsibility of the officers to complete the task and requests made of them by the Criminal Justice Unit, and not for the Criminal Justice Unit to follow up their requests. So there is no in for the CJU to answer in this case. So between the police and the Criminal Justice Unit, there have been some serious cock-ups. Having considered your complaint and reviewed the available evidence, there's no indication that anyone to the case may have committed a criminal offence or behaved in a way which would justify the bringing of disciplinary proceedings. Your complaint has, however, identified practice requiring improvement in relation to performance, which has fallen below expectations. The officers concerned, PC Stephen Shaw, Police Sergeant Osmond and Detective Sergeant Bliss, will take part in a reflective practice review process. I have provided the matters identified in your complaint to their relevant inspectors for this to be completed. I have concluded that in relation to police action following contact that the service provided was not, capital letters, was not acceptable. You have also mentioned that you are not happy with the length of time spent in custody. 10:11 arrested, 11:30 Melksham Police Station arrival, 12:11 detention authorised, 12:32 taken to a cell, 12:38 taken to process, fingerprints, DNS, photograph, it should be DNA. 12:52 allowed access to the exercise yard. It was 2 degrees Celsius outside and that cell was doing my head in. I had to go and stay in the yard. 16:52 legal representative Mr. White made representations on my behalf as to the length of time it was taking to interview me. The custody sergeant spoke with PS Clark of Amesbury Police and he entered this onto my custody record. Martin White's solicitor has made representations about the time for the detained person to be dealt with. I have spoken to the duty inspector and a file has been allocated to officers from Amesbury to deal. Then he goes on about some handover, morning shift, afternoon shift, police cop out basically. It can be seen from this that officers were undertaking inquiries and the shift that dealt with the matter in the morning were writing up the case for officers for the evening shift to deal with. This is standard practice, blah blah blah. 1904, Inspector Rutter reviewed my detention. 1931, you were sent to consultation with my legal representative. He complained at 16:52, 10 to 5, about the time taken, and it was still another just over 2 hours 20 minutes basically before I got taken to speak to my 7:31. Over 2.5 hours, 2 3/4 hours before I got consultation. 1943 went to interview, 8 o'clock interview concluded. 10:45 evidence review officer decision. Having reviewed the case was noted on the custody record and it was decided you would be released on bail with conditions. 11:20 Police Sergeant Garrett spoke to you and your legal representative and explained the bail conditions. No representations were made about them. It was after midnight before I got released from prison. So it's taken them absolutely hours to even interview me, which is unacceptable. I know they get 24 hours, but that is an unacceptable amount of time. 10 to 5 my brief made a complaint, and it was 7:45 before I got interviewed. That's not cricket. So basically the police have accepted massive failings in their own investigations with the Criminal Justice Unit, the CPS and themselves. The CPS weren't happy about this. I mean, the police have basically acted like a bunch of bloody wombles. Yeah, I'm not happy. There is lawsuits in place. There is something happening between me and the Chief Constable at the moment, so I can't go into that anymore. But enjoy the rest of the video. And the investigation has been inadequate. They're serious words. The police absolutely admitting misconduct. Now, what you need to know is over the last 13 months, misconduct has gone up in Wiltshire Police by 175%. So it was about a month ago those figures came out, but in the last year, Police misconduct in Wiltshire Police has risen 175%. That is staggeringly bad. Now, Wiltshire Police are the second oldest police force technically in the world. Britain invented the police force. The Metropolitan, or the Sir Robert Peel and his peelers, or Bobbies, Bobby. The Met is the oldest police force in the world, and Wiltshire Police is second to them. Wiltshire Police are also joint bottom in police figures for the worst performing police forces. So Wiltshire Police is one of the worst performing police forces in the country. So here is a quick picture. Wiltshire Police jointly ranked the worst. I think that was 2023. Not sure when these were. Oh, 21, 22. But you can see that Wiltshire Police are severely inadequate on most of this. So just reading this, I'm not going to read it out, but what you can see at the bottom of Wiltshire is just terrible. It's also the least funded police force. We've got to lose officers, we've got to lose vehicles because they can't afford them. This is not good. They're talking about merging all the police forces into like 13 areas. So instead of having Wiltshire, Dorset, Devon and Cornwall, Berkshire, Hampshire, it'd just be large contained forces. They'll all be one police force, but they'd just have bigger areas. A bit like Devon and Cornwall police. So anyway, the judge has obviously taken on board. He's got 3 statements and they're all different, so only one can be right. He has sided with me. The plea hearing, prosecution and defence barristers had agreed on a B3 on the chart of culpability. So you've got A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, A1 being the entire worst case scenario, C3 being the best case scenario. Well, they admitted on B3, which was a maximum of 2 years in custody and a minimum of 6 months. This works for me. This works. Anything 2 years or under can be suspended. I wanted to fight all this, but my barrister basically told me they're both agreeing that you threatened to shoot them. If they turn up to court to give evidence, you're stuffed. You got to hope neither of them or one of them doesn't turn up to court to give evidence, which then looks bad on them. Now, the way I see it is a jury trial. I need to convince 3 members of that jury, just 3, and I walk. All 12, you're gutted. If you don't get a unanimous, they get sent back out and they come back. They need 10 or more guilties to make it a majority. They come back with 9 guilties, 3 innocents. You walk. Case dismissed. It's over. Now, I reckon if I'd have had this judge, I could have pulled that off because he was blinding. The prosecutor started gabbling his stuff and the judge turned around and said, do you mind if we swear the defendant in first? We don't know who stood there. Strike 1 against the prosecutor. Now you've already pissed the judge off. I'm worrying you've pissed the judge off because it's going to be worse on me. Was that a tactic? However, the prosecutor started arguing the culpability with the judge. The judge turned around and basically said the weapon was broken, it was over his shoulder, it wasn't pointed, surely it's a C3. The prosecutor argued with him. The judge gave him a look and said, this is my courtroom. The prosecutor backed down and he agreed on a C3. The judge has just downgraded my charge. He's helping me out. Now, the way the probation report guy was talking, I was expecting an ankle bracelet. I was expecting a 7 PM to 7 AM curfew, anger management courses, all kinds of... I was waiting for them to throw the book. £1,000 in costs, fines and whatever, at least. Prison suspended, tags, curfews, the works. That judge gave me a 9-month prison sentence. Suspended it for 2 years. That's what we were hoping for. I was hoping for 6 suspended, but... No, we've got a waspy. If he don't find his way out, we'll kill him. 9 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, 100 hours unpaid work, because he knew that was going to piss me off. That's what he hurt me with. It's not a big deal, but I still don't want to do it, but I ain't got a choice. So that will go to prison. 100 hours of unpaid community service. I'm going to try and get that done in a charity shop. That sounds like fun. No costs, no fines, no compensation, no nothing. He let me out of that courtroom and he didn't charge me a single penny. So thank you, the taxpayer. Thank you very much. He didn't hurt me. He knew that there was unfair BS going on in this. Just reading the 2 statements of the witnesses, he knew that this was BS. However, I had pled guilty, and that in itself, there's no ifs, buts or maybes. He had to give me a prison sentence. He didn't have a choice. He had to. Minimum of 6 months. He had to. But he used his discretion and his right, and he suspended it. That judge was a top bloke. I was told he was like the strictest headmaster. The guy was a top bloke. He was fair. He was firm. Wouldn't give me my rifle back. He wouldn't even let me exchange it for a different weapon. He said, no, that's the weapon you committed the offence with. That's the weapon I'm having destroyed. Done and dusted. But in all other aspects, I've got legal aid. That have been 1 to 2 grand in legal fees easily. I mean, there's a barrister in court representing me. They ain't cheap. I've got legal aid that's paid everything. The court costs and that, the judge didn't hit me with because he knew I couldn't afford it, and it would have been somebody else paying it at the end of the day. Or me paying them back, whatever. He gave me 100 hours community service. That's where he hurt me. He knew he was hurting me with that because he knew I didn't want to do it. He didn't have any choice but to give me a prison sentence. 9 months suspended for 2 years, that's fair enough. I can go out and commit crime. As long as that crime isn't violence, aggression, or weapon related, then I'm pretty much looking at a magistrate's court. Not that I'm intending to get into any trouble, of course. But if I get into trouble again, for the suspended sentence to kick in, it has to be a similar crime to the one that I was given the suspended sentence for. So anything involving violence or aggression or whatever could send me to prison. However, we don't have any intentions of getting into trouble again. We don't really intend seeing inside of another courtroom unless we're given evidence against somebody else. The way I see it is I got a right, proper result. That judge was just a diamond. Couldn't help me out. He couldn't have helped me out any better. He could have hit me with fines. He could have hit me with costs. That would have hurt me, but not technically not hurting me. But those 100 hours of unpaid work, he knew that's where he was going to hurt me. And I'm surprised he didn't give me more, to be fair. Because my barrister said the fact that you refused in your probation report to do community service is going to get his back right up. She said that's really going to piss him off. Not as much as the prosecutor. The prosecutor did me a huge favour. He turned that judge against him and put him on my side. I don't know whether the judge would have let me off any easier without that prosecutor pissing him off. But I have to be thankful. He was a top bloke. So, 600 subs. Let's see if we can get that little yellow flashing blue red sign to 700. It's going to be a pain in the arse adjusting that flipping 600. It took me ages messing around to get it from a 2. But we missed 3, 4 and 5. So let's get that up to 800. I'm not going to do a 7. I'll add a single LED there and we'll get that to 800. And then we'll see if we can get it to the 1,000. I can put a line in for the 1. I can move this across 1 and get the O in like the other 2. So let's get up to 800 and 1,000 subs. I'm going to leave that there for a while. I like it. And at least until we get to like 625, 650, that's just going to sit there now and flash away. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Excuse me. I've run out of things to do at the moment almost, but we'll see you in the next video anyway. Take care.